Hello, hello, and welcome to the winners finals of the spring semester showdown of spring 2023. We have Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance, two very popular or well-known teams at Rutgers. So, to get started, we historically both of these teams have played pretty frequently in the past 2 years at a lot of our Rutgers tournaments. And now the winner will be going into the grand finals, while the loser will be in the third place losers finals match. So, right off the start, we have Jimmy and Friends banning away the Wukong Hecarim. Key takeaways here from what is it? Dumb jungler here, who's been known to play a lot of these playmaker engaged junglers and pull the trigger for Scarlet Vengeance. Gwen is getting taken away from UltraCAD. UltraCAD has shown a lot of proficiency on a lot of carry top laners in this tournament. And from the side of Scarlet Vengeance, we are not only seeing a Vladimir ban, but also a Viego and a Zeri ban. Vladimir is an interesting ban. I don't think Tahan, who is known to be a Vladimir one trick, is playing in this first game. But we do see the Zeri and Viego getting taken away, both very popular champions with the players uh on the side of Jimmy and Friends, both with Nomans for that Viego and the Zeri in the hands of IU Very Pog. As we go into the main picks, we do have Jin Tom Kench as a key pickup. One Def Power Spike has shown a lot of playmaking potential on this Tom Kench, so it's good to see that they are comfortable sticking to a lot of their comfort picks in such an important game one and really test the waters of the opponent team. Scarlet Vengeance showing Ezreal Karma as their response. Not really as much of a comfort for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. They usually are known to play engage bot lanes, but it they are deciding and opting in for this poke bot lane to try to put some pressure on a more new or less experienced AD carry player. Yone into Galio matchup is going to be really interesting in the mid lane, unless that varies and it goes into the Yone can be flexed. But if that is the case, Yone versus Galio is a interesting matchup where you do have a lot more playmaking potential on the side of Yone early, but Galio does have a lot of secure to be able to follow up or peel his team later on, and can also just neutralize out the Yone in lane. So it really depends on what Scarlet Vengeance is planning to pick up for that final two picks. Meanwhile, we do see more takeaways from the side of Scarlet Vengeance and the side of Jimmy and Friends. Hold on, I do need to change the stream title. Unlucky. Jimmy and Friends versus we have Scarlet Vengeance. And we should be good now. Alright. And alright, now that we are all on track, let's continue with the picks. Jarvan, Galio have been a really historically strong combo, not as a mid jungle, or they're able to create huge plays, either just through tower diving or through the wombo combo that they make in future team fights. Although you can state the fact that Ezreal is not that much damage for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, so we do want to see some type of a carry top laner to round out the side of Scarlet Vengeance and actually increase the damage amounts that this Jarvan Galio are able to set up. Meanwhile, on the side of Jimmy and Friends, they rounded out with a potentially a Mordekaiser in the jungle. I don't think that's a good pick or at least as strong of a pick anymore. But it seems to be something that Nullment has shown comfort on in the past. Set is a strong champion and is able to just create a solid blind pick. Worst case, he is really difficult to tower dive, so he makes a lot of plays that other top laners can't, and is be able to be strong sided or weak sided, depending on the situation. Overall, drafts are interesting. Both sides do have a lot of potential here. We do have the Jin Yone on the side of Jimmy and Friends, so they do lack a bit of damage, but in they do have a lot of playmaking potential and they can set up a lot of huge plays. But it will really come down to the fact of whether they have enough damage to be able to pick off each of the members separately. Scarlet Vengeance, they have good scaling, they have good wombo combo, but also their comp does seem to have a difficulty engaging if Jarvan can't find his way into the backline, which basically doesn't exist anyways. So both sides here, the draft are pretty close actually. So no picks are too significant red flags for either side to play, but it will definitely lead to an interesting match where we'll see a lot of skill expression. I would say definitely pay attention to how this top and bot matchup plays out. They'll generally decide how a lot of the plays for the future will be made, and we'll probably focus a lot more on making sure on who is winning these side lanes, because it will cause a lot of what the impacts that we'll see in the future plays. In the meantime, Jarvan versus Mordekaiser, the matchup is kind of strange. Mordekaiser has historically not shown a lot of impact in the jungle in the past few months due to the fall off and the constant jungle nerfs that the champion received to make sure that it was shoved out of the jungle. So we won't see a lot of plays coming out from Mordekaiser in particular. He'll probably just start out by farming a bit and afterwards be able to set up plays as he scales slowly into the game. Jarvan, on the other hand, will see probably a little more sacrificing on the farm potential and a little more of an emphasis on ganking. So it is going to be really important for the side of Jimmy and Friends to be able to catch the wards and catch the enemy jungle position of dumb jungler to be able to secure themselves any safety on a lot of their lanes. Meanwhile, Scarlet Vengeance, they have a lot of tower dive potential in all their lanes, so they really want to try to get this Galio some shove and then be able to create a lot of skirmishes and fights. Jax does indeed enter evasion defensive stance. But as of now, we'll go into a break, and once we come back, we'll come back for game 1 of Jimmy and Friends and versus Scarlet Vengeance. See you then. And welcome back to Jimmy and Friends vs. Scarlet Vengeance, Game 1. And immediately, we're into a fan position from both sides. Now, just to talk about some of the players. This is basically a Rutgers Derby. We have, from both sides, a lot of historically... Oh! What's going on? We have a lot of historically... Oh, unlucky. Okay, some technical issues. But yes, we have seen a lot of these players in a lot of our tournaments in the past. For the side of Scarlet Vengeance, they have, for many times, have been led by Venan and Dumb Jungler. They have generally led a lot of rosters to compete in these types of tournaments. Most notably, they had a decent run last year during Fireside, and they also won first last year during a summer tournament for the Plat and Under bracket. And as I say that, we're already having some trading going on to IU Very Pog, a good chunk. On the side of Jimmy and Friends, of course, the roster revolves around Jimmy. Jimmy has made most of the teams, also known as IU Very Pog. Historically, he has been the mid laner, taking the main character zone for the games, but now we are seeing from the side of some meanwhile, as I say that, some action from the side of Dom Jungler as he goes in for Fried Chicken. Fried Chicken does get a little chunk out, and it ends up being a flash for flash trade. And although that is simply a flash trade, it does mean that Fried Chicken will likely be in a really risky situation and might have to consider a back here. Meanwhile, Nolman looking for something onto Keldrick. Keldrick is getting a decent chunk already onto Kuya Kim, making it really hard for him to play. Meanwhile, Keldrick looking for a bit more, might get the solo kill here, but decides to step off once Noman hits the gas and pops Ghost in this onto the mid lane. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of a play attempted from the side of Scarlet Vengeance. They decided that Fried Chicken wasn't worth it, and are instead looking for Noman. Noman has no ghost, so he has no way to go. That just will be first blood for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, and Dumb Jungler picking up the kill. A huge pickup for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, as they are able to pick up that first kill onto Noman and slow down a lot of the tempo, especially in the past. We've seen how much impact that Noman can have when given a comfortable lead. So setting him behind a little early in the game will contribute to a lot for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, we might have something else going on mid lane. Noman getting caught out again. Keldrick and Dumb Jungler showing the potency of this Galio Jarvan combo. Just finding these picks to be able to set up such a huge lead. And there you go. 2 kills for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, all on the jungler. And at this point, we might get a pretty good show from Dumb Jungler, as Eric Bobo looks for a root onto 1-def power spike. Dumb Jungler does get slowed down by the trap. He'll probably force out the flash from 1-def power spike, and that's probably going to be it. But meanwhile, IU Very Pog does find something there. He recognizes the fact that all the abilities on the side of Scarlet Vengeance have been burnt, and sees that there's probably going to be no way for Scarlet Vengeance to be able to retaliate. So a simple flash auto, and they're able to get Eric Bobo and almost get Venan. Meanwhile, Ultracad looking for that 1v1. He's going to get the 1-for-1 and die for it. But the wave is under, and it has to get picked up by Nomad. And so the top lane will have a small lead towards the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, in the bot side, we do see IU Very Pog having a bit more success from off of this, the failed 3v2 gank, and off of that, although Jimmy and Friends off to a rough start, they did get some good success going on in this bot side early in. So it will be really on either Jimmy and Friends' bot side or the top side of Scarlet Vengeance to really dictate how the paces of these fights will be going. Meanwhile, we do have the dragon started as Scarlet Vengeance are noting the fact that there is no way for Jimmy and Friends to be in the area. Jin just backed, which means that this should just be a free dragon pickup. And we are starting to see Scarlet Vengeance really try to pick up the pace in this game. Just so much priority from a lot of their laners to be able to set up a lot of objectives. However, the gold lead still stays relatively even because of the advantage that they have in this bot side. In the meantime, a good thing to mention is how both of these teams had to compete against a few tough opponents and were both decently challenged at some point during this tournament. Both of these teams have shown potential weaknesses in the past with dropping a few games to a selection of teams, but it will definitely be on the side of, well, we'll see. This is still game one, and as I say that, there does seem to be a pickup in the top lane. Fortunately, it appears that I did not catch that, but meantime, we do have few things to pinpoint as we are starting to see Scarlet Vengeance pull ahead with this jungle and top lane. UltraCat and Dumb Jungler have had a pretty good showing during a lot of the games, especially the ones we have been streaming on broadcast before, where we've seen UltraCat have that massive pop-off games such as the one on the Gwen versus Alamo, if I'm not mistaken, and also playing also being able to play some of the other stuff like the tanks for his team, so he's a really flexible top laner. But meanwhile, we have seen the core of Scarlet Vengeance has still been playing generally standard to their playstyle, so a lot of the new additions to this team haven't really changed the way this team plays. Meanwhile, on the side of Jimmy and Friends, we do see a lot more changes, as they have seen a lot more of a player shift on the side of Jimmy and Friends, and we're starting to see a much more competitive roster, as from a team that usually in the past did struggle a bit with some of these tournaments. Meanwhile, we do have an engage coming in. Dumb Jungler setting up an engage onto the Karma and the Mordekaiser. Noman will just Mord ult the Karma, but it won't be enough because Karma does have the ulti to be able to create that really strong healing tether. Meanwhile, even though what was it? Kuya Kim and One Def Power Spike were nearby, it was just not possible to be able to create. Oh wait, no, oh yeah, Kuya Kim and One Def Power Spike were nearby, but they were unfortunately unable to contribute anything to this team fight because of the team already really having the fight decided before they were able to really show up. Meanwhile, Dumb Jungler looking for another engage on the Fried Chicken. Fried Chicken gets a decent W to try to back them off, but now the pressure is just on even further, and he's just gonna have to concede the tower. Meanwhile, UltraCat looking for more. Fried Chicken has to flash out. UltraCat flashing in, and that's just a solo kill. Well, not really a solo kill. Jarvan still got the assist, but towards the end, just some basic reaction time test and being able to show that there is no way for Fried Chicken to really get out of that once he tries to commit to trading a bit there. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of a trade going on in the mid lane. One Def Power Spike trying to find a pick onto Kaldrick here, but it's not going to really bear any fruit. One IU Very Pog was not really in the range to be able to effectively follow up on that play. Meanwhile, Eric Bobo might be looking for something here. One Def Power Spike walking up, but doesn't know. Eric Bobo does give away his position by trying to poke a IU Very Pog, but that won't lead to much. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a play on spot side, and never mind, there's just nothing going on. But there is going to be a play in the... Oh, okay, nothing. These people just are doing really a bit of just a dance around this dragon. The dragon is started up for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. There should be no contest, because it is really difficult for anyone to get in on the side of Jimmy and friends, and that's just going to be a second dragon for Scarlet Vengeance. A huge pickup for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, being able to really assert their dominance after getting such a strong gold lead and really dictating the pace of this whole game. They seem to really be putting a lot of pressure, especially on this top jungle positions, and making it really difficult for Nolman and Fried Chicken to get value out of their champions. Meanwhile, we do have to mention that even though we have seen a pretty strong performance from the side of Ultracat and Dumb Jungler with all the kills actually on Scarlet Vengeance, you have to give credit where credit is due for the fact that Keldrick was setting up a lot of these critical early plays for the side of Dumb Jungler, and being able to create such a strong snowball on this for this jungle. This Jarvan to be able to get so ahead in this game. Meanwhile, there is still the potential for Jimmy and friends to have to find some type of comeback, but it will have to come probably through the damage of this really decently fed Jhin. Right now, IU Very Pog has a lot of the resources of Jimmy and friends, and it's really important for Jimmy and friends to be able to set up those picks and a lot of these plays even from a distance. As we get more towards this mid game, we do have the Baron spawning in 7 minutes, the Dragon spawning in 3. The game's pace has really picked up a lot, so the teams have already had to rotate and swap to this mid game position really early on in the game. However, there is going to probably be an adaptation, hopefully from the side of Jimmy and friends, because as of now, I do believe this 3-1, this 1-3-1 will cause a lot of problems for the side of Jimmy and friends if they aren't able to create any comeback, because as of now, Scarlet Vengeance is really trying to sit comfortable as they are able to just naturally put pressure on all sides of the map. Meanwhile, we do see Eric Bobo and Dumb Jungler already roaming together in this jungle position, trying to create even more pressure onto Nolman, trying to force their the side of Jimmy and friends to try to really respond to this jungle aggression, and by creating these fights that they are so confident that they will win. And again, it's just time and again, we just see the aggression of Dumb Jungler. When he gets ahead, he always seems to show a lot of success for the side of his team. He generally is able to not only maintain his leads, but also be able to snowball them onto other members of his team. So it is really important to give credit to Dumb Jungler and what he's able to accomplish when he's given a lead on the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of trading going on in the bot lane. Ultracat is trying to put some more pressure onto Kuyakim, really trying to get even more and trying to really force down this tower. But IU Very Pog is down here. Kuyakim is going to set up a little bit of an engage, but it won't matter as much because Ultracat is able to produce a kill there. And although IU Very Pog is trying to get this kill, but he will finally get it. But it was so close to being a double kill for the side of UltraCAD. Meanwhile, that trade does result in the fall of the mid tower, and also even more pressure on the top tower has even led to that falling too. Scarlet Vengeance just playing the map so accurately, knowing that they're able to win all across the map. Meanwhile, this Rift Herald has spawned for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. They probably will attempt to pick this up. There doesn't seem to be a contest from the side of Jimmy and friends. They don't have the vision to be able to contest this. It's just too difficult to walk in and create any type of potential play on this. So it's just gone. And here now they just have to back off. Meanwhile, this third dragon is coming up. It is a Cloud Dragon, but remember, Cloud Soul is really strong, guys. So it will be, as we do see Scarlet Vengeance walk towards this dragon, they will probably try to pick it up and deny any potential area for Jimmy and friends to find that type of comeback. And this is just, although not perfectly executed on the vision clear, they are playing the map pretty accurately here and creating good rotations. As we say that, a huge engage from Dumb Jungler, finds 2, and most importantly finds IU Very Pog. When the Power Spike trades his life to be able to make sure that IU Very Pog is able to stay alive. Fried Chicken is able to find a huge engage and even pick up one. So second one is picked up by Kuyakim, but Kuyakim is traded back, and that's to the 3 for 2 for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. And even though it started looking kind of decent for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, it's just so hard to fight Scarlet Vengeance right now as they just go around and slap Jimmy and friends with their wallet. And again, just the Wombo combo of that Jarvan Galio combo is just so powerful. And we even saw the Jax being able to find that cheeky little flank on towards the bot side. It was able to create so much pressure and provide so much damage. And remember, those shutdowns on Jax and Jarvan were not the ones claimed there. So even though they were able to kill Karma and Galio, that really only amounts to 600 gold, which is still less than the Dragon and the 3 kills that Scarlet Vengeance was able to pick up there. But still, good to see to some extent that Jimmy and friends aren't rolling over. They are showing the ability to be able to provide us some of these fights that we want to see from them, and it will be important for them to continue showing us the ability to be able to trade either those 1-for-1s or be able to even provide full-on picks and winning skirmishes to be able to bring themselves back into this game. Meanwhile, we do have the new patch is out currently, so as we watch, there is now the new red buff sharing mechanic and blue buff sharing mechanic once the jungle item is completed. Now, the meta hasn't shown extremely crazy and drastic changes yet, but we are starting to see some adaptations from that. Some champions have become a lot stronger, especially we've seen stuff like Ivern popping up here and there in solo queue and in comp play. Meanwhile, on the side of Scarlet Vengeance, back to this game, we are seeing some type of potential flank here from Eric Bobo. Eric Bobo will get ulted by Noman. Noman trying to go for that solo kill, and he's probably not going to be able to get it, as Eric Bobo does barely keep himself alive there. And although the ult is so huge on the side of Kuyakim, he is still going to fall, and UltraCAD even finds the flank onto IU Very Pog. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and Noman might even fall here too, as UltraCAD does land the stun. And even though Fried Chicken will be able to find that huge shutdown onto UltraCAD, that's still a 4 for 2, and they might still look for this inhib tower. And again, it just looks so difficult to fight the comp of Scarlet Vengeance. Scarlet Vengeance showing so much pressure through the fact that their team has so many tools when that Jarvan is not prevented from being able to engage, and when this Jarvan gets those engages off, it becomes so difficult to walk up and create any potential meaningful things, especially with that Karma flank and the Jax flank, creating so many problems for the side of Jimmy and friends. Meanwhile, we do have Scarlet Vengeance showing a little bit of a vision setup for this top side. Jimmy and friends is trying to contest it. They're trying to look for some type of a pick here. Meanwhile, One Dev Power Spike trying to find the pick onto Eric Bobo. The Q is going to go wide, and without the tongue lash, there is just going to not be a pick potential. As Eric Bobo now looking for some way to fish and keep them there as his team starts to pull up to this top side of the map. UltraCat helping clearing out some of the vision too, and we're just starting to see a little bit of a chokehold being developed here from the side of Scarlet Vengeance, making it so difficult for Jimmy and friends to be able to create many impactful plays. Meanwhile, although the side of Jimmy and friends is looking to be able to take over some of their top jungle again, it looks like Scarlet Vengeance is not afraid to just start up this dragon. They do burn it pretty quickly. They have the Ezreal and the Jax, but they only have 4 members right now. And right now, Jimmy and Fred say it's time to pull the trigger. Eric Bobo falls immediately to a great well-placed 4 shot, but the counter engage is huge. A huge engage from the side of Dumb Jungler, and Kaldrick just wipes all the HP bars, and UltraCat and Venom are just pumping so much damage. All of a sudden, that huge pick onto Eric Bobo just means absolutely nothing, as we just watch the entire team of Jimmy and friends just get evaporated off of the map. And just a huge wipe. And the Baron for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. This game looks basically over. And again, time and time again, it's just this Galio driving combo. Both Kaldrick and Dumb Jungler showing so much proficiency on these champions and being able to create so much playmaking potential on these respective champions. It's becoming really, really difficult for Jimmy and friends to play. And even though they do have shown some ability to be able to create counter engages or even engages and pick off some key members, their damage is just not high enough as of now to be able to create any types of picks. The Jhin damage by itself is not very substantial, and the Yone has not really scaled into the game yet. 23 minutes in, and we're still on 1.5 items on the Yone. It's going to be a little tricky to be able to find damage. Meanwhile, UltraCat looking for a little bit, but he's a little bit deep actually. Gets to just a simple stun, but Kaldrick wants more. Kaldrick finds a 3-man taunt. UltraCat finds 1, but a bit of the damage, but Kaldrick finds 1, Kaldrick finds 2. UltraCat picks up the final one from the stun, and Dumb Jungler wants more. The ult comes through. Ayu very Pog is down. Fried Chicken is going to go down too, and that should just be the game here for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. One Dev Power Spike says the game's already over, and the FF vote comes through. And that's just game 1 of Scarlet Vengeance versus Jimmy and Friends just completed. And just a resounding victory from the side of Scarlet Vengeance, sending a really strong statement that you cannot mess with giving Dumb Jungler and Kaldrick a good synergistic 2v2 where they can get a lot of playmaking and skirmishing even early into the game. And also UltraCat being able to provide so much pressure on this top lane, just showing again, time and time again on this stream, we've seen this top side of Scarlet Vengeance really contradict this bot-oriented meta and be able to develop such a strong playstyle through this top side. In the meantime, we will wait for the second game to continue to begin, and as we wait for that, we'll go into a short break, and beyond that, we'll be right back. And we're back. If you're asking why I'm playing music for this, I'm getting bored and it's pretty lonely having one caster here. But anyways, we are back for game 2 of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance. As of now, Jimmy and Friends is currently down 1 game in this BO5. So if you missed it, game 1, there was champions on the Rift buying items, getting picks, getting kills, getting objectives, and causing games to be won. I suppose that. Meanwhile, on the side of Jimmy and Friends, we do want to see either a composition with a little more damage come through, or at least a little more of a counter response to the hard engage that Scarlet Vengeance did show in game 1. The Wukong ban from Jimmy and Friends, as they are continuing to show that they are willing to run back a few of the current bans. Zarity ban, Scarlet Vengeance is showing that they're comfortable having a rerun, but Jimmy and Friends is denying that with the Galio. And now that Galio is taken off, we will have to see something new come out from the side of Keldrick, as Scarlet Vengeance is comfortable banning away the exact same thing. Meanwhile, the takeaway of Jax from UltraCAD, they are trying to now pinch down different champions and test Scarlet Vengeance's other compositions, saying that the previous one was a little too difficult to be able to directly approach. So they are going to try a new approach. Scarlet Vengeance still banning away the exact same 3, getting that Vladimir finally removed again. And Jimmy and Friends chose the blue side again, so they probably have some new type of composition that they want to draft. And there it is, right at the start. We will see the Hecarim pick up a different change in pace for the side of Jimmy and Friends as they try to go for something a little more aggressive in the jungle. Meanwhile, Scarlet Vengeance actually looking to potentially pick up that Mordekaiser either for the jungle or top position. Now, ideally, Mordekaiser has not been that strong in the jungle position, so they are going to go for something a little more reliable, like this Xayah pickup. A very popular pick for how much value can still bring to the table. Meanwhile, we do have potentially that Mordekaiser hover again. On the side of Scarlet Vengeance, meanwhile, oh. But in the meantime, we do have the Mordekaiser pickup for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Scarlet Vengeance is being able to picking up this Mordekaiser is really good for being able to create that pressure against Hecarim, and historically been a counter to the Hecarim champion. But we'll see if it is able to provide the value that they so desire. In the meantime, we do have Aphelios Renata getting picked up by Jimmy and Friends. Jimmy, IU Very Pog showing a little more confidence and picking a lot more of those ADCs that would have been historically considered outside of his champion pool. With this, and picking up a pretty aggressive bot lane here. And now that is really loud, jeez. But, hold on. Alright. However, in the meantime, as we wait, we do have a Blitzcrank pickup for the Scarlet Vengeance. They do want to put some pressure on a pretty immobile bot lane that will struggle to be able to dodge some of these hooks. The set ban is a good takeaway to respecting Fried Chicken and what he could potentially do on the champion now that the Jax and the Gwen have been taken away. Meanwhile, Gwen taken away from UltraCAD, another respect ban towards that top side and all those carry champs that UltraCAD can play. In the meantime, we do con continue with a Vayne ban, which is interesting because I don't know if Jimmy and Friends has a Vayne solo lane player, but the Vayne ban nonetheless, and a quirky takeaway from Keldrick trying to tap into more of that top sides champ pool. As Aatrox is locked in for the side of Ultracad, an interesting pickup as Aatrox has seen some very mixed results recently, as his champion has not found as good of a footing as it has historically in the past in a lot of competitive scenes. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Friends probably will have to find some quick response, and that response will be Nasus of all things. A very interesting response that they do have for the Aatrox, and definitely trying to really restrict the movement of a lot of these more mobile carry champions that Scarlet Vengeance have shown so far. Meanwhile, the Victor pickup is also solid, just another solid pickup for the side for Kuya Kim, as he's able to create a little more pressure in that mid lane that might not be as easy to do with a melee champion like Yone. Meanwhile, Scarlet Vengeance is able to save that last pick for their mid lane position, and that Syndra is going to get locked in. A champion that historically we've seen IU very pog play for Jimmy and Friends, but now getting played by Keldrick on Scarlet Vengeance. It's going to be pretty interesting how this matchup does play out, as we will have a lot of interesting matchups to look at here. The Syndra versus Victor matchup being generally a decent matchup for Syndra, if I'm not mistaken, but still a very close mage matchup in the mid lane. Meanwhile, we do have a interesting mix of kill pressure between all of the remaining positions on the map, where there can be a lot of interesting fights to be had. So I'll be shooting this over to a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with Game 2 of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance. See you then. And we are back for game two. Oh, and the client has crashed for game two. All right, we are back. There we go. Game two
All
of
right.
Scarlet Vengeance versus Jimmy and Friends. Remember, Jimmy and Friends has taken game one, and I should quickly update that on the scorer. So there we go, and it's fixed. Boom. Now we have a little bit of an invade from the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Eric Bobo trying to find a little bit of an engage onto Fried Chicken, but Fried Chicken just backs off, and there probably won't be any more further of an extent to this level 1, besides for a simple ward on the blue buff. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I am joined with a second caster. Lily slash Half
Hello,
Awake is
hello.
here. So
Yeah, I'll be
I'm no
casting
longer
color. And hopefully, I won't screw up too much. So, yeah, right off the bat, we can see that Jimmy and friends have opted to draft 3 scaling carries in their lanes, which is really interesting. Scarlet Vengeance has responded to the Hecarim first pick with Mordekaiser, which is one of his popular solo queue counters. And in the bot lane, it looks like both sides are going to be leashing bot. And there's not a lot of early game power comparatively in Jimmy and Friends comp, so it'll be interesting to see if they can weather the storm of the early game, because there's definitely a lot of snowball potential on the side of Jimmy and Friends.
So what do you think about the Blitzcrank pick here, where it seems to be a when they were saw the Aphelios Renata, they were, instead of picking something to try to match maybe the Zaya's aggression, they picked a Blitzcrank to be able to fish for picks.
I think it can be good. Oh, yep, they hit level 2 off the first wave and just an early look. Um, Aphelios and Renata are both relatively immobile, so
And meanwhile, we do have
oh, the
Nomant
Fierce Strike.
going for a ghost here, trying to find Venan. Nomant trying to get a bit more, but that it's not going to oh wait, but Nomant, it does not need to do more, as one diff power spike is able to land the huge root onto Venan, and even with cleanse it doesn't matter, and that's a first blood for IU Very Pog, and a second game in a row where this bot lane starts off with a nice advantage for the side of Jimmy and friends.
Right, we're really seeing the power of the Glacial Augment there. Just applying the slow, very nicely landed root, and yeah, just picked up an early kill. Burned both of Venon's summoners as well, which is not great news for them. They're going to lose out on a lot of that potential early game pressure that they originally had by picking the Blitzcrank.
Oh, just a bit of trading going on in this top lane. Just showing how oppressive this Aatrox is into the Nasus. Meanwhile, what do you think about this mid lane matchup where we do have 2 mages that have both historically been known to generally play for a bit of that scaling aspect?
Yeah, I think Syndra's is it the matchup's a little bit Syndra favored? Am I
I
am I right in
think
saying
so. I
that?
do believe that, but
Right. But yeah, Victor's opted for the Airy, Syndra's opted for the First Strike, which might give her a little bit more of that later power in terms of burst. Uh, so far it seems pretty even, and I think that...
But meanwhile,
Oh,
we are finding a stun from Kaldrick onto Kuya Kim. Kuya Kim is going to get caught by the... And he even will get caught by the pull from Dumb Jungler. Dumb Jungler will pop Ghost to try to get the kill onto Kuya Kim. But Kuya Kim will get safely out with that flash.
so yeah, going back to what I said earlier about the Blitzcrank pick, it's Renata's not... I mean, when she was a stronger champion in the meta, she wasn't considered terrible into Blitzcrank. I think Blitzcrank's strength here is that there are a lot of immobile carries on the side of Jimmy and Friends, and
Oh, and
there's more
now we
action
have
happening
a
in
one
bot
death
lane.
power spike getting a flash pull onto Venan, and that should just be a quick pickup, a second kill for IU Very Pog, and that is setting up for 2-0, and in this spot side and for the game of Jimmy and Friends.
Yep, very nicely done. They know that Zaya has no sums. The mid wave, sorry, the wave was stuck in the middle and wasn't quite coming in, so there wasn't really a need for them to walk up that far, especially when I believe they spotted Hecarim on a ward as well. So that's just really unfortunate. Again, oh,
Meanwhile, Eric Bobo trying for something a little
should
bit
get away.
aggressive, but not very beneficial for his team. It's gonna just get him chunked, and now Jimmy and Friends are able to still safely get this reset off and really start to get that advantage that we wanted, that Jimmy and Friends really need to be able to pull into a equalized state in this series.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Zaya, despite dying twice, is still keeping up quite well in terms of farm. So at least that's one thing that Scarlet Vengeance has got going for them. But
Also, what
yeah,
do you?
okay. Hopefully there's not as much action happening now. So right, the Blitzcrank pick. They've got Aphelios. Oh, trade happening top. All right. Um, yeah, on the side of Jimmy and Friends, we've got a lot of immobile carries. In terms of Aphelios and Victor. Um, Aphelios, like maybe he gets his Gale Force later on, but Renato is also a relatively immobile champion. So I think that increases the value of the Blitzcrank pick by a lot in terms of when they can look for picks, like in the mid game, as well as adding to like the early game pressure to punish Aphelios Renata.
Meanwhile, there is a potential look from Dumb Junkler onto this dragon. We do see the setup is created by Scarlet Vengeance, and they have the priority in both of these lanes. It does not seem like this dragon is going to be contested, as Nomint and the team just seem to be content with farming it up right now, and they are seem to be completely okay with giving away this dragon, and that's just going to be the first dragon going over to the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, Eric
You
Bobo
see
looking
Eric
for some
walking
type of
up.
a
This could be
pick.
dangerous.
That's gonna be a hook land, and
Oh, the hook
Keldrick's gonna
lands.
try to find the second thing. He will find the kill onto Noman, and that will be Scarlet Vengeance getting another swing of gold towards their side. And they're not done yet. IU Very Pog is starting to look a little caught out here. And then we now see Eric Bobo fishing for it. Hook, pulled, and there
Oh, it's
you
a double
go.
pull.
And the kill is attempted to be fed into Venan, but Dumb Jungler will still pick it off as the I think the burn got it. So in the end, still a 2-0, and the dragon secured for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, and a huge comeback coming in for Scarlet Vengeance in this second game.
Yeah, just well played. They had everyone in the team in the area for the objective. They had their vision control. A little bit of greed from Noman there, trying to stay around for the red buff when he knew that Blitzcrank was in the area and that they were finishing up the dragon. Unfortunately, his teammates also somewhat overstayed and yeah, ended up in 2 kills getting picked up for the side of Scarlet Vengeance.
Another thing to mention here is beyond just the game itself, I know that a lot of the players on both of these teams have some have historically played a lot of against each other in a lot of these matches before in the past, and so
That's right.
they are definitely it makes them a lot more eager to try to beat the other team. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the people really trying to like one up a lot of their old acquaintances and also rivals in a lot of these tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. That's what makes like this matchup so exciting.
Meanwhile,
Oh,
Dumb Jungler
Warrior comes
is
down on
getting
Peter.
trying to get a solo kill onto Kuyakim. Kuyakim does place the cage to try to put some pressure on it, but Dumb Jungler is still going to be able to pick that up in the Death Realm. And now Ultracad is here to execute fried chicken, and chicken is served as we finally have 2 kills for Dumb Jungler and the Herald pickup, and Scarlet Vengeance is just getting away with even more.
Yeah, that was well thought out Rift Herald. Hecarim actually, he hasn't backed, he doesn't have items except for his Lucidity boots, and Mord is sitting there on full Rylai's. They just, I don't think they were in a position to really fight at all there, so it's a little questionable.
Meanwhile, Eric Bobo looking for something here. One Def Power Spike will be able to land that the hostile takeover, but even though the instant cleanse from Venan was super good there, and they're able to get the 2-for-1 in the end. Meanwhile, there is a kill in the mid lane. Nomant is able to just get the ultimate and find the engage point onto Keldrick and finally return something for the side of Jimmy and friends. And that's a 1-for-0 in the mid lane.
Yeah, looking at the gold lead, we can see that Scarlet Vengeance is actually up by about 4k right now, 4,000 gold, and that's mostly off of plates, a little bit of the CS differentials in the lanes, especially the
Meanwhile,
top
Dom
lane.
Jungler looking for something in mid lane, and that's just going to be a solo kill.
Wow. This game is just starting to fall apart a little bit for the side of Jimmy and friends. Oh, and as I say that,
Fried chicken.
Fried Chicken, he finds a solo kill onto Ultra Cat in the top lane. Breathing a little bit of much needed life back into the game state.
And while Nolman does find a little bit of an engagement to Eric Bobo, it's going to be secured by One Def Power Spike, and it's fed straight into the pocket of IU Very Pog. And although the mid tower will fall from the pressure initially placed on that mid lane position, it is important to note the fact that this Phalios is starting to build up a lot of kills and will become a really huge scaling threat for the side of Jimmy and Friends. So you cannot count Jimmy and Friends out of this with their scaling comp.
We've got most of the first items on the side of Scarlet Vengeance finished up now. Syndra with her lead-ins, Xayah with her Storm Razor. Blitzcrank looks like he's pretty close on completing that Chevalius. And Mord has his first item, Rylai's. Due to the gold differential, the numbers on Jimmy and friends, it doesn't look like most of them have their first mythic completed, which is going to be difficult. I believe just Aphelios hasn't backed. He should have it on that back.
Meanwhile, Keldrick looking for something on Nolman, and Nolman is barely able to get away with his life there. Keldrick just finding so much damage, and that's just going to be the dragon for the side of Scarlet Vengeance as Dumb Jungler picks up his third objective of the game.
Yeah, Jimmy and friends really being punished here. Not only did they pick a relatively weak early laning phase champions,
Ooh, meanwhile, One Def Power Spike getting picked out in the Tribush area towards the spot side, and Eric Bobo showing the value of this Blitzcrank pick.
Yeah, there's just these kills happening left and right. They're being picked off one by one, and yeah, not only did they draft a weak early game in a lot of senses, but they also died a lot early, and the gold lead and the snowballing is just ballooning for the side of Scarlet Vengeance here, and it's quickly going to become an unmanageable game if they don't do something to shore up the bleeding.
And it looks like Keldrick was caught again by some quick thinking from Nolman again.
You didn't quite see what happened there.
Fortunately, the horse is too fast, and my brain is also too slow. As another kill goes through from the side of Scarlet Vengeance, they're able to pick up another kill onto One Def Power Spike. Another pick from this Blitz Mordekaiser combo with these poles. And another kill onto One Def Power Spike means even further expanding lead for Dumb Jungler and Venan in the spot side.
That's right, they're now 6k gold ahead, and it's only 14 minutes into the game.
Another thing to mention is just showing the flexibility of this Scarlet Vengeance team, how they were able to play such a topside oriented match last game, and then immediately pivot towards a more bot oriented game for this game too.
Yeah, that's definitely something to be commended. You know, they're showing flexibility. We saw Venom playing weak side the entire game, basically, the last game, the first match. and they've definitely pivoted to that. Although, to be fair, Dumb Jungler has been successfully ganking pretty much every lane, I believe. Um, so he's definitely had a great impact on the map.
Oh, meanwhile, Eric Bobo
And is
seems to
getting
be
caught
getting
out.
caught out again. Noman finding another pick with Kuyakim, and that's going to be a really important way to get back into this game. It does come at the cost of the top tower, but that is a trade that you do want to be trying to take, as that top tower was going to probably fall anyways.
Yeah, we definitely see also a bit of a disconnect in the side of blue team's draft. We have Aphelios and Renata and Victor who generally feel better when team is when the enemy team is playing into them. And then we have like Hecarim who kind of wants to just like dash into the back line, be a disruptor. And Nasus isn't like the type of frontline who can provide, you know, like hard CC to kind of like help Victor and Aphelios free hit. So there's a little bit of a disconnect in terms of what their carries and what their frontline want to do here.
And it looks like a fourth objective will be going to Scarlet Vengeance here right about now, as we do have this Chemtech map. It's going to be interesting because Chemtech Soul has not, unlike Cloud Soul from the last game, is not as popular, but we'll probably see how much pressure that is able to provide for the side of Scarlet Vengeance this game.
Yeah, and just with how ahead Scarlet Vengeance is, you know, the map becomes really scary. No one on the side of Jimmy and Friends can really face check into a Blitzcrank running around. They're advancing their vision control. It's hard for them to walk into any objective, and yeah,
Meanwhile,
Blitzcrank is allowed to just fish for hooks here. Just like a really uncomfortable situation to be put in when you have a team with so many immobile carries and you're trying to get back into the game.
Meanwhile, Eric Bobo just constantly looking for these hooks. It's not going to land on anything, but he's just trying to. It's starting to show like the confidence levels on the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, Nolman is trying to find Venan here, but he goes a little too far, and Venan is just going to pick up another kill off of a little bit of assistance from Caldric. Archicad gets another solo kill onto one Def Power Spike and picks that. But in the meantime, we do have the mid lane as IU Very Pog is found also in this mid lane position, and don't even get me started as we continue, and Kuya Kim falls too in the mid lane. Just constant picks left, right, and center here for the side of Scarlet Vengeance.
Yeah, and even though they might be losing some members or like some summoners every once in a while, they're consistently coming out on top, and they're just so much stronger at this point that it's really hard to see a way for Jimmy and Friends to come back into the game. We see Dumb Jungler, he's going to be picking up this third dragon, and oh, it looks like
Meanwhile, Fried Chicken looks a little bit caught. He's gonna be put in between a rock and a hard place, and that's gonna be the death sentence that Scarlet Vengeance wants. Not really needs at all. They're just basically picking up free kills by this point, and it's becoming really, really difficult. If you were on the side of Jimmy and Friends, how do you try to build any inch of a comeback from this position here?
I don't know, honestly. This seems like this seems like a pretty difficult situation to be in. I still think that Hecarim Renata is potentially a strong combo. Zaya is really difficult to assassinate because she has her ultimate available. And while they do have the Mordekaiser available to counter the Hecarim, I believe that there's maybe a potential for them to still make like some sort of picks. They have utility in the way of Nasus Wither. But they
Oh,
need to
they look
regroup.
like they're finding a pick though. Ayuveri Pog is sped up. And now we do see a rooted Ultra Cat, a dead Ultra Cat. But Eric
There we
Bobo looking
go.
for some type of trade onto Kuyakim. It does not seem to be like, but Kuyakim is just turning that straight back onto Eric Bobo. Dom Jungler is trying to find some type of kill, but he ulted Fried Chicken of all champions. And now that's just 3 picks for the side of Jimmy and friends,
There
and
you
they
go.
could look straight towards this Baron. And Jimmy and friends just finding such a huge clutch play out of nowhere and even maybe getting this Baron here potentially. And it's just creating so much breathing room and a sigh of relief for the side of Jimmy and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's super important to, be on the same page for a play, and in that case, Scarlet and Vengeance, they found themselves outnumbered. Um, Jimmy and friends did a great job of grouping top and, securing a shutdown into their Aphelios. That's breathing some life back into the game. The gold lead has actually decreased slightly to be around 4,500 gold. Um, so there may be hope yet for the side of Jimmy and friends. They've now secured the Baron.
Oh, Ultra Cat wants to take the 1v1 against Fried Chicken. Kuya Kim doesn't want this to happen. He's going to try to make sure. Ultra Cat fails to dash over the wall. He's going to try to trade back, but that's just going to be another pick onto Ultra Cat. And again, Jimmy and friends finding another critical pick and more room to be able to work with this Baron and try to get those objective bounties.
Yeah, absolutely. With Aatrox off the map and the rest of the teammates of Scarlet Vengeance so split, there's some real potential for oh.
Meanwhile, Dumb Jungler looking for something onto Kuyakim. Remember, Kuyakim does not have the cage outside, and Dumb Jungler is gonna just try to walk out of this. Fried Chicken goes under tower with him, and he is able to pick up the kill. That is going to be a 1-for-1, but that 1-for-1 isn't worth it, as Fried Chicken is also just going to be able to get the tower with that, and that's an objective bounty and a tower for this Nasus. Meanwhile, one power spike just getting caught out here. There's too many feathers behind you. You have to be careful of these feathers. Norman's trying to trade back for Venan, and he is able to get Venan, but Keldrick is just gonna clean up, and the janitor is here. Meanwhile, Ultra Cat is here to try to get the 1v1 onto Fried Chicken. Fried Chicken is going to try to get himself out, but Ultra Cat follows him on the blast cone. Eric Bobo is trying to come, but he can't do anything. And Ultra Cat will say, don't worry, I have the solo kill. And he's able to pick up another kill for Scarlet Vengeance.
Yeah, just this insane bloodbath of going down on the Baron timer. But what you do notice coming out of it is that the gold lead has decreased again. Um, now it's around 4K, so it's decreased by another 500-ish, maybe a little bit more. Um, so while they're taking these trades and these kills and not necessarily coming out on top, um, the outcomes have been slightly better than what they were in the early game, where they were getting picked and not really getting anything back for it at all. So definitely, if I were on the side of Scarlet Vengeance, I'd want to be careful, make sure that I don't throw my lead away, because these shutdowns going into their carries could really mean some comeback in the late game.
And it's time for the Dragon Soul. Eric Bobo wants to get this started with a pick onto One Def Power Spike. And One Def Power Spike is just immediately taken out of the picture. Norman trying to find some type of engagement to the backline, but he's going to get ulted by Dumb Jungler. And meanwhile, Fried Chicken is just walking through the whole team. Kuya Kim is able to get a huge ulti onto the backline, but that's an even more huge stun from the side of Keldrick, getting all of the backline, and even though Venan falls, that's still 5-0 for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, and the soul goes to Scarlet Vengeance on top of it.
Yeah, that was just a team fight, which kind of, the outcome was a little bit decided before it even fully began. That Blitzcrank, that pick power that I was talking about, just catching out the Renata that he spots on the ward walking down from Banana Brush. Even though she gets her ultimate off, it proves to be a huge handicap for the side of Jimmy and friends who are trying to contest the Dragon Soul.
And just another impressive play from the side of Scarlet Vengeance here. Just being able to constantly use, especially this Blitzcrank, to get so many picks of value. This Blitzcrank has been generating so much value, as you mentioned before. So many immobile squishies to be able to try to fish for here, and they're just getting a. They're getting all of it.
Yeah, it's worth noting that the side of Scarlet Vengeance, they don't really have uh, a ton of mobility themselves in terms of like chase power or engage power. So the fact that Blitzcrank, that they're able to leverage their advantage in the early game and they're able to use this Blitzcrank to kind of create picks for them that the other team, that the rest of the team can then follow up on, has really been working out so well for them.
And in the meantime, we are starting to see 50 seconds till this Baron, and Scarlet Vengeance is starting to put their chokehold into this enemy top jungle. And as the client does decide to give me a little bit of a haywire, but classic, don't worry, it's just right, doing right things. Meanwhile, Keldrick starting to look for more. Potentially here. What? Are you very pug? The ultimate goes wide. The stun goes wide from Keldrick, and we're just having a few skill shots getting tossed around for fun here. In the meantime, we do have. Oh, and a huge stun finally lands on Keldrick's end. And there you go. Well, Are very pug immediately gets blown up. Fire Chicken's trying to trade for Keldrick's life, but that shield is so huge. The Zanya's is huge, and Fried Chicken's gonna go down to Dumb Jungler. And that's 2-0. And now we have so many different options for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Scarlet Vengeance is just gonna choose to go for this Baron here. Just a resounding amount of coordination from the side of Scarlet Vengeance. They know exactly what their limits are here, and they're getting so much value out of all these champions and trying to really push the limits of how fast they can push to end this game here.
Yeah, that was a great scatter of the week by Keldrick, hitting all three members of Jimmy and Friends to secure the kills under tower as they were taking it down. Not really sure what the plan was there for them, sticking around as the tower was falling, because it was pretty clear that they couldn't defend it. But the flash hook comes out.
A little bit of a field goal from Eric Bobo, but right now the flash is not much to lose, as of now it it's become so difficult for the side of Jimmy and friends to be able to create a potential way to end this game. Ayu very Pog and Kuya Kim have to go so massive to be able to create any type of value, and now the ultimate does try to come through from the side of One Def Power Spike, and Kuya Kim is trying to get some value, and now we are trying to see some damage is getting put out here. They're looking for some type of pick here. In the meantime, we do have a 1v1 going on. Noman versus Keldrick. Keldrick wins that. Dumb Jungler picks up Kuya Kim, and another pick goes through. Feenan is going to find Fried Chicken. He's going to find Ayu Very Pog, and Altracat finds. Oh no, not Altracat. Keldrick finds what is it? The Renata on the back end, and that's just going to be an ace and probably just a game.
Yeah, dominant performance from Scarlet Vengeance here. Uh, it started out, you know, looking like maybe um, with Jimmy and French chasing down the mid lane that this could be a comeback with Scarlet Vengeance outnumbered, but TP came in and the fight was turned around.
And that is it for game 2 of Scarlet Vengeance versus Friends. Yeah, Jimmy and
Right.
Friends. And this is not the lower bracket. Oh no. Uh, okay, there we go. Don't mind me. There we go. All of a sudden, it's changed. Uh, and again, just a
Okay.
resounding performance from the side of Scarlet Vengeance and showing more diversity and especially leaning more towards this bot side of the map instead of towards the top side from last game. What do you think Jimmy and friends really need to try to do for this next game and be able to adapt?
I definitely like to see more coherence in terms of their draft strategy. I feel like there's not necessarily like a clear comp that they're thinking around in terms of like how their champions fit together. I know that a lot of people on the side of Jimmy and Friends have a pretty large champion pool, um, so I'm hoping to see something a little bit more synergistic in terms of perhaps not going for all scaling carries um, and maybe a little bit more comfort on the side of the mid or bot lane. But yeah, we'll have to see. Based on the performance of Scarlet Vengeance, they've showed that they can, you know, go with two very different game plans and successfully execute on both of them. So I think that poses a lot of questions for Jimmy and Friends as to what their response will be coming into this third game.
2-0 up in this best of 5, and Jimmy and friends are backs against the wall. We'll probably be going into a break right now, but stay tuned and we'll see if Scarlet Vengeance is able to clean sweep Jimmy and friends, or if Jimmy and friends are able to start and amount that first game necessary to reverse sweep Scarlet Vengeance to be able to take this finals, or I guess the winner finals. We'll be right back. And welcome back to game 3 of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance. We are still waiting on the draft, but as of now, as you can already see, Scarlet Vengeance is up 2-0 in this best of 5, and we really need to see something from Jimmy and Friends. They have chosen to finally swap sides here. They have swapped to the red side for this third game. So looks like we're going to see some type of variation in the draft as we get started with this draft. As we get started, we are getting the same bans that we have seen before from both sides. Wukong being banned all 3 games, Zeri and Vlad getting banned all 3 games, Galio getting banned away again as a takeaway from Keldrick's dominating performance in game 1. And Scarlet Vengeance will likely choose to ban off the same stuff. They do choose to ban off the Viego from Nolment again. And 3 games in a row, they have found nothing wrong with their bans. So if it isn't broken, you don't fix it. In the meantime, we do have Jimmy and Friends deciding to stick with the same bans that they had from last game. And now this is opening up for some varieties of possibilities as Scarlet Vengeance is going to start with their B1 pick. And Jarvan is the first lock-in for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Jarvan has been a pretty strong champion in competitive play, and we've also seen it game 1 from the side of Dumb Jungler, as Dumb Jungler is going to be able to run it back with the same jungle that he got from first, that created so much pressure in that first game. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Friends seems to have locked in a Hecarim as the intention for the first pick, I'm assuming. Uh-oh. We're getting info that they picked Ivern first. Alrighty. Jimmy and Friends have decided to pick Ivern as their first pick, so that will be an Ivern. Jarvan versus Ivern. I don't know how much about this matchup. Ivern has been always a really strange champion due to its really unique cleared style. Meanwhile, the Tom Kench getting picked up for 1 def power spike again. Still trying to resolve a lot of their issues by picking Comfort and giving 1 def power spike one of his more champions that he can be really confident on and play relatively aggressively in lane. Meanwhile, looks like Scarlet Vengeance does want to run the Xayah back again. They found a lot of success with it in the bot lane last game, and they want to pair it with a Lulu for the second game and try to get a little more of this protection that they want for the Xayah. I'm surprised they wouldn't rerun Blitzcrank, knowing the fact that Blitzcrank does have Shield Break for the Ivern, for the Tom Kench, and they just played Xayah Blitzcrank. But still, nice to see some new champions and a little bit new tech. So, as we get the Senna TK lock in, it looks like we're going back to 2019. As we do have probably a fasting Senna in the bot lane here. And a Tom Kench as the farming ADC. Meanwhile, Gwen, Camille, both getting banned away from their respective top laners, really trying to pinch down this carry pool to prevent many potentials for top lane carry, especially when we see an Ivern champion, which really lives or dies by how strong the carries are doing over the other players.
Yeah, I almost wonder what Jimmy and friends are planning for the rest of their carry picks. Because in terms of having Ivern, Tom Kench, and Senna, that's a relatively low damage composition that you're going to be running in fights. So it'll be interesting to see what they round out their composition with moving into the next round of picks.
And now we do have the Victor takeaway. They do not want to see another game of Victor from Kuyokim. The impact that it did show in the second game towards the end was very showed a lot of potential for the pick, and is clearly an issue for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Meanwhile, Gragas is getting picked up, as I do want to mention, Murderers is in for the side of Jimmy and friends. They have swapped top laners for this third game. So Jimmy and friends do have a new top laner which has a completely different champ pool, and that's why the Gragas is getting locked in here. Ultracat picking up the Shen as response probably here to the Gragas, just a decent way to try to neutralize out this lane.
Yeah, there's a lot of protection being picked up for the side of Scarlet Vengeance here in terms of the Shen and the Lulu and the Xayah pick, just having so much safety for their carry. It looks like the last pick is going to be, oh, it's going to be an Akali.
Ooh,
That's super
okay.
interesting, actually. That's exciting. She has the potential to kind of dive into the back line. I don't know if she wants to with a Tom Kensha being there, but the extra safety and utility that Shen can provide to a diving Akali and Jarvan opens up a lot more versatility in terms of how this comp is executed.
And the response is the Kuya Kim Yone. He has played it in that first game. And he's going to try to prove that the first game was a little bit of a of a in misrepresentation of the quality of uh Kuya Kim's Yone. Kim has shown a lot of Yone success in the past, so it will be interesting to see how this matchup does go in the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not afraid to pick the Yone again, and that's interesting to me because I think that's is Akali considered a Yone counter? I believe the matchup's quite favorable for her. Um, but yeah, uh, definitely an interesting pick. Provides some much needed extra damage to the side of Jimmy and friends.
And now we are in an interesting situation where both teams have a lot of playmaking and a lot of roaming potential from their jungle and mid laners. So we do want to start to see some of that value from these picks, and definitely from the side of Jimmy and friends if we want to see them mount a reverse sweep, or at least take this first game in towards the path of a reverse sweep onto Scarlet Vengeance. In the meantime, we will be going into a short break, but ju- what is it? Stay tuned for this third game where we'll see whether Scarlet Vengeance is able to get the full sweep on Jimmy and friends, or if Jimmy and friends will be able to mount their comeback. We'll be right back. And we are back, I think. Maybe? No? Are we not? Nope, we are not back. Our thing is broken.
Oh, the
As
client's frozen. Oh no.
for some reason it is not possible to pull up the thing. Give me a sec as we let fix some stuff. Hopefully we don't miss anything important while this is all getting fixed. Like we are
Uh,
good. All right, welcome back to Game 3 of Scarlet Vengeance versus Jimmy and Friends.
so just to
As
address an earlier mistake in the casting, I think previously we said that it was going to be Ivern for the jungle pick. It was actually not, in fact, Ivern. It was Hecarim as displayed in the draft lol. So sorry about that, guys.
that is what happens when your draft flows screw up. Don't screw up your draft flows so you don't hurt casting. Thank you.
That's right. This message has been sponsored by Jilted Casters. All right.
Absolutely. Anyways, interesting matchups we have all across the map here. We do have some matchups. Most notably, I do want to focus on this mid matchup. It's gonna Yone versus Akali feels like it would be really aggressive and create a lot of potential for different types of outplays and kill setups.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really two very flashy champions that we see in the mid lane. Top lane a little bit less so, but both champions with great utility and a playmaking capacity. Um, I think after level 6 especially, it's going to be really interesting to see where this Shen takes his ultimate. Bottom lane, we've seen that, well, we already see some early trading happening in the mid lane here.
Meanwhile, Kotrick looking for a little bit of a chunk onto Kuyakim. Kuyakim will just be able to walk it off, but definitely right off the bat, we are starting to see some aggressive trading coming through, and this might start. We have to definitely keep our eyes out on this lane to see if there's anything interesting that occurs from this draft. Oh, speaking of which, Kuya
Oh.
Kim might have bit off a little more than he could chew. A flash from Kuya Kim as Keldrick does pressure him with the ignite.
Yeah, just very well played by Keldrick there, using the Shuriken flip um, on Yone's telegraphed empowered Q. Bot lane probably won't have much kill potential on either side here. Ivy Pod getting chunked out, but we do see that Xayah has opted for the Cull. Kind of indicates that they're both kind of looking to farm it out in this lane and not look for kills or too much heavy trading.
Meanwhile, Dumb Jungler was spotted in this top jungle area, so it seems like both junglers have swapped where they're going to be pathing towards. Interesting jungle pathing we have here going on from both sides. And which lane do you think would be really good for both junglers to be really trying to focus in this game? As there seems to be a lot of really volatile matchups throughout this game.
Um, well, I think, as you said, you know, the most volatile matchup is probably going to be the Akali Yone. We see both
Speaking
junglers
of
heading toward bot
which,
right now,
we have
actually.
Noman looking for Veenen. Veenen will flush out. Eric Bobo just gonna walk it off, but now it's time for the re-engage. Dumb Jungler will miss the EQ, and now he's in a bit of trouble, and
Oh, he
that's
has
gonna
no
be first
flash.
blood for the Hackerim, but it will get traded back from the side of Eric Bobo and the Lulu. One Def Power Spike wants to see if he can find a little more, and he is gonna try to look for more, but Veenen is starting to put the damage into Ivy very pocket, make it really hard to walk up, so that's just gonna be probably a 1-for-1 here.
Yeah, that was interesting situation where the kill did get onto the Lulu.
But
Oh,
speaking of which, we do have a 2v2 kill going
Very
through
Ball
from the
goes
side
down.
of Lulu. Eric Bobo just putting the passive on top of Venan, and that's just enough damage to be able to create
Oh
the kill.
no,
But
how
one
did
if
that
Power Spike
happen?
does just walk out of this, he is just gonna probably he doesn't even have to burn the flesh, and that's just gonna be a 1-for-1 out of nowhere.
Unfortunately, both kills, actually all kills in the ball lane here, going towards the sides of the supports. We're
What do you
going to see
mean?
if,
Unfortunately, support gaming. Gotta see the supports get some appreciation here.
oh yes, absolutely.
Meanwhile, UltraCat telling Noment to get out of the jungle, as Noment will walk off and give a little taunt just to flex a little bit of his current comfort in the jungle.
That is, no enemy grump for you today. But yeah, going back to the topic of the volatile matchup, I think in the mid lane, this Akali versus Yone has the potential to be super snowbally, whoever gets ahead. I do think the matchup is quite Akali favored, but I think that'll definitely be a point of contention for both junglers and also the Shen as well to look to play towards. Bot lane seems a little more non-interactive. Something to note is that the Xayah Lulu will likely easily be able to get Prio in this lane. Good trade coming down to the Gragas.
And even though bot lane was supposed to be very uneventful this game, they do seem to be hosting most of the action as
That's
Venan
absolutely right.
looks for more onto IU Very Pog. IU Very Pog just walks it off. But again, this is just some aggressive trading coming through on both bot laners wanting to try to really outplay each other.
Yeah, there absolutely is a good amount of trading going down. Um, one thing to note is that if the side of Scarlet Vengeance isn't careful, oh, could this be a gank coming in?
Dumb
Senna
Jungler is
has no
back for
flash.
more.
She's flashless.
Another EQ misses. We can't keep missing these, but it doesn't matter. Dumb Jungler will pick up the first kill and prevent Eric Bobo from falling. Eric Bobo will pop the speed to try to keep Venan alive. It won't be able to keep himself alive though, but a second kill is picked up and Venan is going to finally get this one. And the first kill goes over to the ADC.
Yeah, and that's a 1-for-2 trade in the bot lane here in favor of Scarlet Vengeance. Um, yeah, Senna is flashless and IU Very Pog, you know, he opts to kind of turn around and try and make the turn onto Lulu there, but he pays for it by clearly not getting out.
Meanwhile, Kuya Kim stuck between a rock and a hard place. I think he might be able to
He's
just
defended here
walk it out,
potentially.
but he's gonna try to go for the turn. Noman's here. Meanwhile, Keldrick will look for more under this tower. He will find the kill, and Noman doesn't have anything to follow up. I think the disengage was probably the right call there, but he looks for more because he sees Noman is right around the corner, and he gets punished for it.
Yeah, absolutely. If Hecarim had been level 6, then potentially it could have been a great turn. But you have to remember that even if that had been the case, which it wasn't, we also have Shen with the ultimate available in the top lane. So that didn't seem like it was going to turn out well for the side of Jimmy and friends, regardless. They will
Meanwhile,
pick up the oh, sorry, that's
Ocean Drag.
Scarlet Vengeance, right? That's picking up the
Yes.
Ocean Dragon.
They get Ocean Drag, which is really strong early game because HP regen, for some reason, in the early game, is a dragon that people can take to gain HP.
Oh, this Vicious and warded. Tom Kench does have the ultimate available.
Meanwhile, are you very Pog looking
But
for something really aggressive? Dumb Jungler is right around the corner. Now, is the EQ gonna land? This time it will miss because of a flash, but it won't matter. The ultimate will force not only the flash of Senna, but also the ult from Tom Kench.
And that
Again.
gank was well done. They baited, IU very pug, the bot lane duo in, but Tom Kench does have the ultimate available, and you see some of that safety. Now we see Noman coming in for a potential
Oh.
counter gank.
Meanwhile, Courier Kim also showing up here. Looks like Jimmy and friends wants their turn at this. Courier Kim walking up for it. One Def Power Spike trying to find the slow. Eric Bobo's in a little bit of trouble. He's going to flash out. Noman going in with the ultimate trying to go deep. But he's not going to be able to find Eric Bobo. Eric Bobo walks out. Dumb jungler flags and drags himself over the wall. And now Vienan is looking for some type of return here onto IU very pog. But he won't be able to go any further as Kuya Kim is putting a little pressure to zone him off. But Eric Bobo is now the one getting caught as Kuya Kim is able to quickly pick up that one. And out of nowhere, when it felt like that it was just going to be an even play, that Kuya Kim just comes straight up out on top.
Yeah, that was a really extended and chaotic fight in the bot lane for both sides, but Jimmy and friends walk out of it with a kill for the Yone. That's much needed for him to help kind of shore up this lane. He's down a lot of plates and CS as well. So it was really important that he actually got something back from that extended roam. Something to notice about the bot lanes is that Senna, Tom Kench do have sustain going for them.
Oh, Kuya Kim, you're in a bit of trouble. What are you gonna do? You have to find your way out of this. Now it looks like you should be able to out, but why are we going back in? And now Kuya Kim sacrifices himself again, trying to find a potential trade, but it won't be able to amount to anything. Finally, IU Very Pog is going to be able to pick up Eric Bobo and complete Kuya Kim's wish, but at what cost? You don't have to go back in there. You can just back off when you have the Q3. Meanwhile, one Def Power Spike is going to look for Venan here in the mid lane, but in the bot lane, but it's not going to amount to much, as currently it just seems that it's really difficult to be able to walk up to the Zaya, but they do have a decent freeze until the Lulu returns.
Yeah, a little bit of greed coming out from the side of the Yone, trying to potentially turn and take back a kill, but the thing is he's already so behind. Maybe a bit of a limit test as well.
Meanwhile, we do have something potentially looking towards this top laner. Murderers is in a bit of trouble. And he is just going to be able to walk away. The phase rush makes you so
Phase
fast.
rush is insane.
And Dumb Jungler just doesn't have any way to get back onto this Gragas. Meanwhile, it looks like they're looking for, Jimmy and Friends is looking for another play here. Courier Kim is on the flank.
No vision.
And the ulti is good, but unfortunately, even without seeing the ulti, Venan does just cast the Zaya ult, and they are able to get the return kill by getting Ultra Cat in this top lane area, but nothing in the bot lane.
Yeah, there's just so much safety provided by this Lulu and Saya. They're definitely extremely difficult to kill.
Oh, Dumb Jungler looking for something here. Gets the solo kill onto Murderers. Nolment is trying to look for some bit of damage, but knows that there is no way to trade the kill, and just decides that, and both junglers promptly decide to back off. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, a little bit of a engage. One Def Power Spike does find the eat onto Venan, but meanwhile in the mid lane, while the 2v2 kill came through, the solo kill in the mid lane, and again Keldrick on the Akali just going off, and that's 3-0 on the Akali.
Fourth plate coming down for Keldrick, and in the bottom lane, very nicely played by Jimmy and friends bot lane to kind of get one kill back on their side. They knew that they saw Zaya ultimate was down, Lulu ultimate was down, and they used that to their advantage.
Meanwhile, it seems that Jimmy and friends have started up on this dragon. Eric Bobo will spot them. This will have come down to a contest. Dumb Jungler is looking for something here. There might be a steal attempt here. Noman is just going to look for Eric Bobo. One Def Power Spike have found their way, but the growth is super huge. Out of nowhere, Ultra Cat has been able to pop the ultimate, and Noman will fall in the backline. Meanwhile, Dumb Jungler has to trade himself as he is in the middle of the whole enemy team. Keldrick is here. You have to watch this Akali. He does so much damage. Meanwhile, one Def Power Spike is dying, but Kuya Kim will find the trade onto Ultra Cat. Kuya Kim tries to look for more. Eric Bobo will be traded by murderers, and it's 3 for 3, a bloodbath everywhere. Kills dropping left and right. But in the end, still an even trade. But Keldrick might look for more here. And it's just going to be another kill, an overextension, and the Akali is now 5-0.
Yeah, that was incredibly overextended on the side of Jimmy and friends. IU very Pog stepping up into the Kali E range.
Meanwhile, Venan looking a bit in trouble here. Has to use the feathers just to get out. But they are able to trade the kill because Dumb Jungler is so close nearby. Murderers will fall too, as that is a 2 for nothing and probably will lead to this dragon. And the mid tower falls to the Akali of Keldrick.
And that's Cloud Drake secured, and it looks like the soul for this game will be Hextech.
And this game is just starting to look so difficult, and it looks like we're about to have a repeat of the first 2 games. What do you want to see from Jimmy and friends if we want to see them trying to mount some type of a comeback here back into this game?
I think that the combination of Gragas, Yone, and Hecarim still have extremely strong playmaking potential. The thing that makes it so difficult is the amount of safety afforded on the side of um, Scarlet Vengeance. They have the Xayah ultimate, they have the Lulu, they have the Shen. So, you know, any sort of dive attempt by this Hecarim and this Yone uh, are likely going to be thwarted unless they, you know, find an incredible angle or are able to somehow exhaust some of those cooldowns beforehand.
Meanwhile, 1 kill for the Akali, 2 kills for the Akali, and I think finally Keldrick will be shut down by Nomans, but again, just the brutal amount of power that this Akali has on the map right now.
Yeah, that is 850 gold. More than that, I think. Sorry, into the pockets of the Hecarim. So we'll see if he can do something with that.
Meanwhile, we might have some type of a dive onto murderers here. Dumb Jungler nearby, but decides that there is nothing and will start to back off a bit. Oh, murderers trying to look for something here, but there is nothing. Again, we're just seeing a bit of a bait attempt there, but it's not going to amount to anything. As of now, ooh, speaking of which, Eric Bobo getting a little bit cut out. Finally, we see signs of life again from Jimmy and friends as IU Very Pog and Noman do find a pick of Eric Bobo just straggling around in the in the darkness of the unknown. And finally, Scarlet Vengeance does get punished for some of the plays that they've been making.
Right, and this has been somewhat of a recurring trend across the games where the support for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, he's often caught out not walking with teammates that he might need in order to secure deeper vision. Um, he's currently sitting at 6 deaths on the Lulu, and that might be a sign that he needs to play safer, or at least with his teammates because even though his team might be ahead, he still needs to exercise caution when walking so deeply into the enemy jungle like that.
Another thing that's important to look at here is that even though it seems that there is a substantial gold lead for the side of Scarlet Vengeance, it is basically all in the hands of this Akali. Keldrick being single-handedly almost the whole team's gold advantage up on his lane opponent as he looks for more onto one death power spike and just removes half the HP boy without more than 3 buttons. Meanwhile, we do have some trading going on in the top side. IU very Pog and Murderers trying to find Ultracat. He's getting stuck in a pretty tough place, and this should be, and that should just be the end of Ultracat in the top lane for now. Dumb Jungler getting caught out too, and the flash is not good.
Oh, he failed his flash. Oh no.
That is gonna be a 2-for-0. Jimmy and friends do get 2 critical picks in this top lane.
But yeah, that was a great point you made earlier about pretty much the entirety of the gold lead for the side of Scarlet Vengeance actually sitting in the pockets of this Akali, who actually the side of Jimmy and friends with the Tom Kench, they have a pretty good answer to her. They're relatively tanky, so it'll definitely.
Oh, Keldrick is looking for something. He's hungry, and it
alone.
looks like he's also alone. That is true. He's trying to look for something here. One Death Power Spike looking for a little more, but he's biting
off. He might be the one who's overextended. Oh.
And now it looks like One Death Power Spike might have bit off more than he can chew, but Murderers is going to be the first one to get engaged on, and he's just going to get instantly blown up. Well, Dumb Jungler will be traded, but Keldrick, watch Keldrick in this backline. He is going to look for IU very Pog. Noman is able to get this. He actually is able to pick up the Xayah and the Lulu, and even more importantly, Keldrick gets shut down in that backline by Kuya Kim, and that's a 4-for-1. And the dragon for the side of Jimmy and friends, and Jimmy and friends just completely flips the whole lead and says, damn your Akali, damn your lead, we have a huge advantage, we'll just simply out team fight you. And now Ultracat getting caught out a little bit, they're looking for more, and he's just dead too.
And that's just disaster for Scarlet Vengeance. All 5 members of the team dying at this dragon fight. There was definitely somewhat of a lack of coordination during that last team fight, with members diving too deeply, resulting in a extremely split fight where Benin and Lulu, they were just unable to follow, really.
Finally, we are into this mid game. Baron is up, but now with a more even game, we are going to enter the best stage of League of Legends, farming.
Yeah, speaking of which, the gold is actually almost dead even at this point. That one team fight, a lot of shutdowns and a lot of gold just going back into the pockets of Jimmy and friends. Definitely breathing new life into the game state.
Meanwhile, Eric Bobo getting a little bit caught out. Murderers, the barrel does go a little bit wide, and Eric Bobo is able to get out safely. Meanwhile, One Death Power Spike looking for something interesting here, and now he's actually stuck in an awkward place. There is no W on this Tom Kench. There is no flash on this Tom Kench, but now Noman is here to put enough pressure to make sure that One Death Power Spike gets out safely.
It's worth noting that Keldrick is split pushing, and he does not have the teleport available on the
Meanwhile, Kuya Kim looking for the solo kill onto Venan, and the panic ultimate does come out from Ultracat, but it was completely safe in the first place, and there was actually no play to be had. But still, 2 ults for 1, and now Jimmy and friends want to try to force this Akali to this Baron pit. Akali has been spotted.
Here.
But now, Caldric will still make it. The fight has started, but no one really knows. Caldric is here already. And now, is Caldric enough to stop it? They're actually getting 1, 2, 3. Everyone on Scarlet Vengeance is getting wiped. Actually, the Akali does come too late, and now that's 4 kills and potentially and almost very likely the Baron. I
Yeah,
don't think
that's a
this Lulu
triple kill
really is
picked
gonna be
up
able
by
to steal the
Nolan.
Baron, but you know, if you believe, you can dream. And Eric Bobo will try to go for it, but it will just lead to a little bit of a weird situation here. Eric Bobo will get
He gets
out, but
out.
that is gonna be a Baron for the side of Jimmy and Friends, and Jimmy and Friends have completely flipped the game in their favor.
Yeah, and that was a situation where you had the Akali splitting without teleport, and for a moment it looked good there for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Um, it seems like, you know, they had gotten a lot of cooldowns burnt for the side of Jimmy and Friends, the Yone ultimate especially. But they did burn Shen ultimate and Xayah ultimate as well before they even looked at the Baron. And then with Akali coming late to the fight and Jimmy and Friends having the setup in the area, it was just a very awkward situation for them. Unfortunately, they paid for it with their lives and with the Baron. And now the gold lead has solidly swung to the side of Jimmy and Friends, being 4,000 gold ahead.
Patience and timing is a virtue, and a virtue that we are constantly seeing from Jimmy and Friends now in this game, as they are constantly taking engages at the exact right moments to be able to create good plays. Keldrick will get a huge 1k gold bounty, but I don't think Jimmy and Friends is letting him away. You can ult all you want, you can flash out, but you will not escape Jimmy and Friends.
Yeah, they definitely secured the kill there, but that is 1,000 gold from the Hecarim shutdown going right back into the pockets of the Akali.
And now we return to a fun state of the game. The dragon is up. Shen has ultimate. It's going to be a 4v4 for now, as Eric Bobo is looking a little bit out of place. One Def Power Spike looks for more. Ultracat will not ult that. So now the Lulu is just gone, and that should just be Dragon for the side of Jimmy and Friends. Unless Dumb Jungler has something to say about it.
Yeah, once again, members of Scarlet Vengeance are caught out in an area around the objective where they're outnumbered. Keldrick wasn't even on the map at the time. He was on a respawn, actually. Um,
Meanwhile, Dumb Jungler getting caught out. Kuya Kim kind of had the sense that there was probably someone there, and they just get wiped off the map. Jimmy and Friends showing out of nowhere a sudden urge and a sudden pull into this game, as they finally are looking like the clear favorites to win the game. And out of nowhere, it seems really possible for Jimmy and Friends to begin this reverse sweep after all hope looked lost at the middle of this game.
yeah, they had developed a commanding gold lead starting from that dragon fight that went wrong for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. And at every turn, it's just been members of Scarlet Vengeance getting caught out, underestimating their strength, being outnumbered. In terms of the Hecarim and the Yone and the Tahm Kench, Jimmy and Friends have a lot of gap closers in the toolkits of their champions, enabling them to kind of arrive at the fight quickly. And that's really allowed them to pick off a lot of members of Scarlet Vengeance who are mispositioned, especially their support.
Finally, Scarlet Vengeance backs against the wall for the first time in this series, and we'll now get to see Jimmy and Friends marching towards the base and putting some pressure onto Scarlet Vengeance, but hopefully will, oh, nothing.
It's worth noting that it's quite difficult for the side of Jimmy and friends to siege towers. So any major objective taking will probably have to occur after a fight, or if they manage to take the Baron. But as it stands, they're currently in control of the map. So if they keep up their vision control, keep up their objective setup, they put themselves in a good position to think about using this lead to close out the game. With that being said, however, by no means is this game decided. There's still lots of playmaking tools on the side of Scarlet Vengeance that could easily bring them back into it if used well.
And now it's time to really see what Scarlet Vengeance has left in the tank, and if they have something that they can pull out to be able to put some pressure onto the side of Jimmy and friends.
Jimmy and friends occupying the top jungle, taking control of the Baron area. It looks like they're just gonna start it right up with the control that they have on the map.
The Baron is getting started for the side of Jimmy and friends. Do they even know? I don't think they don't know. Scarlet Vengeance doesn't even know that this is happening, and the Baron will just fall. And just like that, Jimmy and friends are gonna walk mid. They're gonna try to end the game right here, right now. And as we continue to look here, Kuya Kim looks for more. Now we have one Def Power Spike going in deep. It's time for the dive to commence. And Murderers is actually the first one to get picked off. Caldric tries to look for a second one, but Kuya Kim will finally find Altracat. Caldric will find the second one. And now Caldric will actually fall to Nomant. And now Nomant is just getting all of the kills necessary. One Def Power Spike picks up one. One Def Power Spike picks up a second. And that should be the game.
And that's an ace.
It looked so good for first Jimmy and friends, then Scarlet Vengeance, and then finally at the end, through the Hackerim and the Tom Kench, we do see Jimmy and friends do take game 3 and keep the chances of a reverse sweep alive. 1-2, Jimmy and friends. Just a really strong game that we saw from this, not only the center Tom Kench, but also from the Hackerim here. Just so many plays that were critically set up by this bot lane jungle combo that Jimmy and friends were able to execute this time. And we really want to see that again from them if they really want to be able to pull back this reverse sweep potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even when they were at a disadvantage and losing in the early mid game, they were able to punish a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the overextensions that the side of Scarlet Vengeance made, and turn it into a convincing lead during the objective fights.
Well, that will be it for as we go into a break. Let's stay tuned to see if Scarlet Vengeance will be able to close out and finish this 3-1, or if Jimmy and friends will continue their run towards this reverse sweep. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Game 4 for the draft of Scarlet Vengeance versus Jimmy and Friends. Scarlet Vengeance lost, chose red side, and there you go. You're caught up to speed. Anyways. League. It's a game that can be played. The draft will be starting any moment now. But in the meantime, we're waiting on the players to begin drafting. They both seem to have R checked as we do get into the beginning of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance. Give me a sec. There we go. And right off the bat, we have bands, all sorts of bands, Jack's bands, Vlad bands, and nothing has basically changed. Galio has been banned away, and Zeri also has been taken away from the side of Scarlet Vengeance. As of now, it seems that there will be no significant adaptation to the draft just yet from both sides. And finally, Jimmy and Friends are comfortable running the exact same bands that they did from last game, finding no particular issues with the comp they just played against. Meanwhile, Jimmy and Scarlet Vengeance does decide that it's finally time to ban away the Yone. Weird. There we go. Boom. Um, as of now, we will see what Jimmy and Friends wants to pick up now that they don't have the Yone as instead of their previous games where they were able to pick up some other different picks. Jimmy and Friends do want to try to run that Senna Tom Kench again. They they it seems like the Senna Tom Kench did work really well last game. The Tom Kench being an extremely strong pick for the side of one def power spike, and also being able to set up a really safe lane. The only weird part is that Tom Kench could be picked up by the side of Scarlet Vengeance. And I feel like if that's the case, it becomes really awkward for a Senna to play. So
It could be flexed into the support role, but yeah, that is definitely not looking like what Jimmy and Friends want as their primary option. Like you said, it seems like they're looking to replicate the success of their last game with the fasting Senna.
And instead of trying to deny the Tom Kench, Scarlet Vengeance chooses to go for it a little more of an aggressive ball lane. They try to go for Zio with Alistar, and Jimmy and friends decide to run back the exact same bot lane. What do you think about this Alistar pick instead of the Lulu pick from last time as a way to respond to the Senna TK?
Um, I think it gives them a lot more tools to potentially work with a gank, work with all-inning, and just Alistar's role as a disruptive champion for Xayah. I think I like this pick a lot better than the Lulu from last game.
In the meantime, we do have the Gragas getting immediately picked up to try to put some pressure on Scarlet Vengeance in this draft and just speed up the pace of the draft. Maokai is picked in response as a interesting option for either the jungle or the top lane here of Scarlet Vengeance. And as of now, we do have some more bans directed towards Nomad. Viego and Hecarim will be denied from having any potential shows in this series. Gwen is getting taken away from Altracad along with the Syndra from Keldric as we finally enter a continuation of Scarlet Vengeance trying to find a way to adapt to Jimmy, trying to run the same comp that they did from Game 3.
If I'm going to be honest, I don't necessarily think that there was the biggest issue between the bot lane's composition from last game. Uh, in fact, Scarlet Vengeance were actually solidly ahead in terms of the individual advantages that they were able to gain from their own lanes, but they did engage in throw after throw during objective fights, and I think that's a big reason why they fell behind and ultimately lost the game. So it could be that they can run a similar comp into the Senna Tom Kench, but just be more wary of their mid-game execution. If they make fewer mistakes, it could spell a better outcome for them, provided that they're able to gain the same kinds of individual advantages that they had previously.
Meantime, we do have Mordekaiser getting picked up as a response to the Kindred in the jungle. Yas is getting picked up as a replacement for the Yone ban, and finally we do have a set lock in
This is
for the
incredible.
top lane.
This is incredible front line on the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Very front to back kind of composition. Tons of disruption, tons of engage, tons of tankiness, and
But also
it'll
tons
really
of
be on
AD.
the yeah. I was going to say it'll really be on the Zion Kindred, but they don't have a great source of magic damage here for them. Although I believe AP Maokai does do a fair bit if he does choose to go that route. But nevertheless, on the side of Jimmy and Friends, also extremely tanky disruptor frontline in the form of Tom Kench, Gragas, and Mordekaiser. We also have the synergy with the Gragas Yasuo, so hopefully we'll be seeing some exciting plays come out of that.
And meanwhile, as the teams prepare to load into the rift, we'll be taking a short break and we'll be back for game 4 of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance. We'll see you then. And welcome back to Game 3 of Jimmy and Friends versus Scarlet Vengeance.
Game 4.
Game 4!
Game 4!
Yeah! My brain is absolutely fried.
Right
So,
off the
I want to
bat,
see
we
some
see
action.
looks like Scarlet Vengeance are looking for a bot side invade into the Tribush. Are you very Pog standing there alone?
Oh, and the client has decided
And the
not to give us
client,
that.
okay, the
But
flash root.
Ultracat will just get the flash root, and immediately that's a first blood for the Kindred. And Dumb Jungler gets a quick kill onto the Kindred, which is really, really good just to start off. It will mean that Ultracat's a little less safe, but it is a big pickup for the Kindred.
Was that actually the hunt completed for the Kindred? Do we know?
Check. It was not a hunt complete.
It was not. Oh, that's unfortunate. But still, great for a snowballing jungler. Lots of early CC on the side of, strong CC on the side of Scarlet Vengeance. So, great call there to invade a relatively immobile Senna. This does mean, however, that Eric Bobo will be without flash for the early lane phase. That's potentially something that Jimmy and Friends bot lane might look into taking advantage of.
Just the Senna TK trading again. Seems like IU Very Pog and One Def Power Spike are just picking up where they left off. Meanwhile, Set versus Yas. I'm pretty sure this is Set favored, but what do you think about this matchup?
I'm not sure, honestly. Keldrick's looking really low. He burned his flash level 1, and that might be really problematic for him. He has level advantage, and he's just going to first blood. Proccing the lethal tempo, and Keldrick flashless has no way to walk out of that one.
And that's a huge pickup for the side of Kuya Kim and for Jimmy and Friends. Ultracat trying to set up some type of a play onto Murderers, but there doesn't seem to be some type of result. Dumb Jungler might be looking for something onto Nolment here. He's gonna be able to sweep over Nolment on this Gromp, and he will try to slip in.
He doesn't end up going for it.
But he will go for Nolment here. Nolment is in a little bit of a rough place. Has to flash out, and Dumb Jungler will dive to pick up the mark.
A little bit of indecision there that we're seeing from Dumb Jungler, but he does pick up the kill in the end as
Meanwhile, in the bot lane, meanwhile in the bot lane, there was a 2v2 play, and it did result in the hands of IU Very Pog going down. Meanwhile, oh, trading in the mid lane. We're just gonna go back and watch that stuff. Meanwhile, all right, hold on. Just watch me cook. All right, engage from the Alistar, and Eric Bubble was able to pick up a quick kill onto the whoopsies, and there was a quick pickup of a kill onto this bot lane from a good engage from Alistar. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, we got to see Kuya Kim trying to take a trade onto Keldrick here. Gets really aggressive with it, but even then, you still can't tank too many tower shots. Otherwise, you're just going to fall into a situation where even when you're so ahead, you will still lose to a champion like Set, who is so good at dueling. Meanwhile, Kuya Kim looking for more, but Nolman is here. And Nolman will just beat up Keldrick, and so Kuya Kim just setting up a kill quickly, and a quick bonk from Nolman, and oh,
quick bonk.
and it appears Ultracat died top lane. The bloodbath just doesn't stop.
This is just an early game fiesta that we're seeing here coming out of both teams. Concentrating, constant kills happening across the board. A lot of oversteps being punished, and yeah, both teams showing no restraint when it comes to aggression.
Meanwhile, Are You Very Pog looks a little
Sage
loud
check,
out
too
again.
dangerous.
And this should just be another kill for Dumb Jungler. Ooh. And that could...
It looks like they're just gonna start up the dragon on the tail end of that.
Some people might say that the Kindred might have failed to wall jump twice. And you would be right. However, Scarlet Vengeance still gets the dragon without any complete problems. Meanwhile,
sitting on 3 kills, she's monstrously ahead in the early game. Meanwhile, bot lane's IU Very Pog has been put so far behind, picking up 3 early deaths. He's definitely a lot more vulnerable to this Alistar engage, coupled with Dumb Jungler turning his attention towards the bot lane.
Ultracat is trying to find some type of a way to fight murderers, but doesn't recognize the fact Kuya Kim is already here. Ultracat trying to peel himself out, but he's just between 3 members of Jimmy and Friends, and the kill is handed over to Kuya Kim. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we have another engage onto IU Very Pog. That's the 4th death. 7 minutes, 4 deaths. Eric Bobo flashes to try to knock up 1 death power spike, and that's gonna be another kill. And this bot lane is an absolute slaughter. There is no such thing as a rerun on this Senna TK, as the Senna is put so behind with these early engages.
Yeah, absolutely. Although Senna Tom Kench, the Tom may offer a lot more safety post level 6. Before that, in the early levels, especially without the summoners.
But speaking of which, Kendrick,
another kill happens in the mid lane.
And it's just bloodbath. 4 deaths on the set mid, 4 deaths on the Senna bot lane, and IU Very Pog is mid lane for some reason. And the game freezes.
We're looking at a 14 kill game at 8 minutes. And the fighting just doesn't stop.
Meanwhile, we do see Dumb Jungler is going to go for this mark here. Is there going to be any contest? There will not be. Nolman will just look to try to trade the red buff instead. And now they
like
will try to get this Herald. Meanwhile, Ultracat actually the one getting caught out. IU Very Pog has gotten sick of this bot lane, and now IU Very Pog is saying it's my turn to do the ganking, as Ultracat is getting caught out again. But in the meantime, Eric Bobo and Kaldrick do find a pick to shut down Kuya Kim. Another death for this top laner, but finally the first shutdown comes through, and the first person to get a major shutdown on them is Kuya Kim falling to this cheeky Alistar gank.
And that's 2 plates taken in the top lane, but 2 plates taken for Scarlet Vengeance as well in the mid lane, and it just seems like a game where teams are trading blow for blow on the side of Scarlet Vengeance. We've got Dumb Jungler and Venom, the jungler and AD carry, monstrously ahead as I'm speaking again. Almost another kill onto 1 death power spike. Meanwhile on the side of Jimmy and friends.
Oh, a huge ultimate from the side of Kuya Kim, and then the ultimate from Nolman to quickly remove the Kindred from the ulti. Now, what Are You Very Pog looks to continue the picks, and Eric Bobo is gonna fall too, and that's just 3 for nothing for the side of Jimmy and friends, and the whole gold lead and the closeness of this match gets blown wide open. Jimmy and friends 3 for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. The set is now back in the game after roaming repeatedly with her jungler and just being there to gank and pick up the kills.
Please, if anyone from Jimmy and Friends or Scarlet Vengeance could hear this, Give me a break. I can feel the sushi from my dinner coming back up. The wrong pipe. We need a little less action, but as I say that, Kelchik turns around and brings IU Very Pug straight under the tower, and IU Very Pug goes from 0-4 to bounty to shutdown right back.
And now there's been 20 kills in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. It's absolute madness in this fourth game. It's almost 2 kills, 2 deaths a minute.
Yes, just an absolute slaughter as we continue this game, and we see here that there's gonna be potentially a fight here. Dumb Jungler picks up the Herald, and Murderers is trying to secure this kill, but Dumb Jungler will barely get out, and
The
even
cat
with the
comes in a
barrel.
tad too late.
Meantime, we do have another play in the mid lane. Kurya Kim doing a little bit of trading with Keldrick, but Keldrick just will go under the tower. Meanwhile, top lane, Ultracad. Watch out, don't let it happen again. They are looking. Alright, they do call it off. Ultracad does back off, and now the play is called off as meanwhile, Dumb Jungler sets up the second dragon for Scarlet Vengeance. Nolment is going to try to look to stop this. Kuya Kim is in the area. Keldrick is right behind. And now the fight begins. Eric Bobo with a two-man airborne. Meanwhile, Keldrick does get sent into this death realm. Kuya Kim is stuck in the middle of 3 people. Meanwhile, in the top lane, there's a solo kill for Ultracad. And 2 people follow. 1 here at this team fight and 1 top lane. And all of a sudden, Scarlet Vengeance pick up this dragon, and they pick up 2 kills on top of it.
Again, it's just absolute chaos happening around the objective. Although this time it does appear that Scarlet Vengeance came out on top, securing the dragon and allowing them to get this Rift Herald pushed in on the mid lane. That'll pretty much even up the gold differential.
Now, we're just watching the teams trade back and forth, and just so many areas to display different amounts of the champion limits and pure mechanical skill on a lot of these champions. It's becoming very entertaining to watch a lot of these duels happen between a lot of these players, but it's just so difficult to keep up with all of the plays on the board. Meanwhile, we do have the continuation of and a role swap on these lanes.
Yeah, there's finally a little bit of a lull in the game state as Jimmy and friends reset. Most of them have completed their first mythic by now. Yasuo opting to go for the Gale Force, Tom Kedge for the Locket. It seems that the lane swap has occurred with Kuya Kim and Keldrick moving into the bottom lane, while the bot lanes have moved towards the mid lane. It looks like they're maybe making a play happen top.
Oh, in the meantime, there is a play happening top lane. Nolment does find the pick onto Eric Bobo. Ultracad tries to use Nature's Grasp to try to pull everyone out with his ultimate, but it's just not enough. And the ultimate from Nolment sending them to the Shadow Realm and teaching Eric Bobo not to try to walk into his team. Meanwhile, Keldrick does get a solo kill in the bot lane. Meanwhile, the action here continues as both teams decide that they've had enough and back off.
Although Kuya Kim does die in the bottom lane, that's top lane tower secured for the side of Jimmy and Friends, and it's gonna be bot lane tower secured for the side of Scarlet Vengeance. Oh, the teleport
Meanwhile,
comes in.
Nolment in a little bit of trouble. Ultra Cat looking to try to secure more. A flash in to try to make sure Nolment dies here. And the blast cone is decent, but Eric Bobo is just there when you need him. And that's a kill and a shutdown onto Nolment.
And now the map is really starting to be blown open. As we start to get towards the mid game, outer towers are falling.
And right now, after all of this, blows back and forth, Scarlet Vengeance have somehow managed to itch out a small lead. But still, this is anyone's game. As of now, what do you think Jimmy and friends should be doing to try to get those bounties and swing the gold back into their lead?
I think they have an incredibly strong wombo combo, and if they should be able to continue to pick up farm, scale up through the Senna, through the Yasuo, and look to just make plays, honestly. At the objective, I think that Mordekaiser and Gragas are both extremely effective Kindred counters, um, and Kindred is one of the main carries that Scarlet Vengeance will be relying on. So to be able to make picks and catch them out of position will be important for them to move together as they're doing right now.
And
Coming up
now we're gonna have a
alongside the
dance
dragon.
around the third dragon. It's time. Jimmy and friends positioning themselves towards the bottom of the jungle. Watch Caldric there. Caldric is finding a flank angle here.
They have
And
no ward
now
by
Eric
him.
Bobo has the engage. Caldric is looking to follow up on Eric Bobo. And meanwhile, the damage is coming through. Venan is getting absolutely chunked right now as Murderous flashes forward. But he's gonna go down. Dumb Jungler is burning through these HP bars as we speak. And he flashes forward. But now it feels like the ulti is actually doing so much work for Jimmy and friends, and Jimmy and friends is now wiping through the whole backline, and all of a sudden the whole team fight flips. I think that Kindred ulti might have saved a lot of the members on Jimmy and friends.
Yeah, that was just better organization, honestly, on the side of Jimmy and Friends. They kited backward and they held their cooldowns. Um, the Yasuo ult was later. I believe the Gragas ult as well. They fought patiently, and as a result, after the Kindred ult was committed, they actually came out on top.
And again, Jimmy and friends finally getting another punch back, getting so many a quick ace there, and also the dragon in return. And now we're not even back to the point of Baron spawn, and there's already 32 kills in the game.
Yeah, and the Yasuo pick is just so strong here from Kuya Kim, because if you look at the side of Scarlet Vengeance, their two main sources of damage are AD carries. You know, you have the Kindred, you have the Xayah. With the Yasuo wind wall placement and also the threat that Yasuo brings with the Gragas combination, it's just so effective in fights, and it makes it really difficult for the side of Scarlet Vengeance to execute. They might have all this damage in the form of items, in the form of a relatively strong Kindred, but one wind wall in a fight and you can't hit, you know, for several seconds. That's often enough to decide the outcome. Combining
In the
that with just the incredibly tanky frontline that Jimmy and Friends has, it's extremely difficult for anyone on the side of Scarlet Vengeance, their carries, to be dealing enough to kill anybody.
Just like that, we do have the game does return to a little bit of a state of peace as I say that immediately. Kuya Kim is getting jumped on by 3 members and immediately gets brought back into the dirt.
And it looks like that'll be bottom tier 2 tower secured for the side of
But in the
Scarlet Vengeance
meantime,
as Jimmy and friends, they're looking to
they
start the Baron.
but here's the thing, Scarlet Vengeance does know about this. They will try to stop this, I would assume.
And they do the Baron quite slowly.
And here they come. A team fight begins. UltraCat is looking to engage. This will be a smite secure by the side of Jimmy and friends from Nolman. But the team wipe is already coming through. And right now, Dumb Jungler's on the chase for one def power spike. And Nolman is actually starting to win this side of the fight against Eric Bobo and UltraCat, but Venan has decided that he's had enough of this, pops the ghost, and starts to lock down this Mordekaiser, but Moment gets the solo kill, just walks out. And even then, one Def Power Spike is also able to make it out. Kuya Kim, though, does decide to take another fight against Keldrick and decides that all of that early game might be damned. And now Keldrick is just winning these solo, and another solo kill for Keldrick.
Yeah, you can see how these practically full AD comps is coming back to bite Scarlet Vengeance. This draft of full AD into the Yasuo, into the Mordekaiser, that he now has his Bramble Vest, he now has, he got to itemize his Tabi. He has his fully procced Jackshow in a fight, and he's just so incredibly difficult to kill, and that's only going to get worse as time goes on.
Alright. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Eric Bobo looking for an engage onto Ayuveri Pog. Nolman will try to peel off the Alistar, and that will do the trick. However, there is currently a 4v5. One Def Power Spike can't make it to this fight. Murderers is down. Ayuveri Pog is down. The NATO just only can be used for safety, and now Scarlet Vengeance is the ones walking forward and looking for more.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's just such a strange decision to have the support Tahm Kench be split. He needs to be with the Senna, he needs to be with the team. The composition on the side of Jimmy and friends gets drastically weaker if they're not all there, and one would think that, I believe they still do have members with the Baron buff, that they should try to, you know, group mid. But that'll be Dragon, it looks like, secured for the side of Scarlet Vengeance now.
And Keldrick, they're looking for Keldrick, but Keldrick just puts on a little show of footwork and just sidesteps most of the potential ways to pull. And now he's looking for something, but a barrel finds 3. The Kuya Kim finds 3, but now he's getting turned on. Murderers goes in, and now he's stuck under the tower. And now one Def Power Spike tries to kill Ayuveri Pog. It keeps him, he keeps himself alive, but he has to keep Ayuveri Pog alive, but he dies. And now Nolman is looking for UltraCat, and this is and now he will probably fall too, as now that should be the inhib towers of both mid and bot lane, as Dumb Jungler wasn't even there the whole fight.
Yeah, and what an incredible throw by Jimmy and friends. They have this amazing combo. Well, Scarlet Vengeance may be looking for more, but it just looks like they're going to settle taking the 2 inhibitors and backing off for now. But yeah, for the side of Jimmy and friends, they may have this incredible combo, but they opted to turret dive, and immediately Yasuo was focused down, and you just don't have the damage, you don't have the burst for that. Keep in mind that Scarlet Vengeance also has an incredibly tanky frontline. these are members that are not going to go down easily. They even have a mitigation with a kindred, so they really like they're perfectly happy for Jimmy and friends to play into them. Senna was put in such an awkward situation where like she couldn't even follow, and then once Yasuo was dead, uh, Jimmy and friends were severely lacking in the damage that they needed to close out the fight. They basically, although the Yasuo ultimate looked really cool with the Gragas ultimate, they overextended too far under the tower and basically gifted free kills over to the side of Scarlet Vengeance.
And remember, this is game 4. Scarlet Vengeance is up 1 game. They're up 2-1. If Scarlet Vengeance wins this game, they will not only win the series, but advance to the grand finals of the Spring Semester Showdown. Meanwhile, Jimmy and friends do need to win this game. They need to find some way to mount a comeback here and to save this game from falling out of their hands and the whole series from falling out of their hands. And as I say that, when the Power Spike has decided that he's found a potential pick onto Caldric, and his Caldric is deep under the tower, ulted by Nolmans. Nolmans is trying to find a way onto Caldric, but now Murderous has engaged onto Ultracad, but now there's so much damage onto these tanks, but they're tanks! You can do all the damage you want, but that's still only gonna be a fraction of their health. A triple kill for the Kindred, a quadra kill for the Kindred, and now the Scarlet Vengeance continues to march towards this space. They have a wave. This could just be the game.
And it just all falls apart for Jimmy and friends in the top lane.
Ultracad steeping in, signaling they're going to try for the end here. They don't even care about this tower anymore. They want more. They get the first Nexus tower, it falls. Kuya Kim is up in 3 seconds. One Def Power Spike will not be able to hold. It's up to Kuya Kim and Murderers to try to stop it. But now, Murderers is dead. Kuya Kim is dead. Nolmans is walking forward. And now, he can't even catch Venan.
This is an
And
angry
now,
Zaya,
he's
angry
dead.
kindred.
And that's it. 3-1. Scarlet Vengeance beat Jimmy and friends and advance to the grand finals of the Spring Semester Showdown. Just what a performance from the players on Scarlet Vengeance, being able to create such a such a resounding and victory here
Yeah,
right now.
absolutely. They were able to uh, really stick to their front to back composition with the addition of kind of like Set Alistar like working as like great disruptors throughout their fights. And honestly, Jimmy and friends, like what we saw in the end was that they were lacking a lot of damage in fights. They really couldn't kill anyone on the side of Scarlet Vengeance in the time that it took for the Kindred and Zaya to be able to shred through the front line. So yeah, just well played by Scarlet Vengeance to really execute on their comp centering around these two carries.
And in the meantime, we do have a potential interview with Venan and Peter from Scarlet Vengeance. Just give us a second to set that up. And hello, Peter.
Hello.
Welcome. First of all, congrats on the 3-1 against Jimmy and friends. You did it. Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
First of all, how was the team how How was the team morale during over the course of the games during this series?
Wait 1 second. I think my ABC. I think Alvin wants to get here. Let's wait for
I
him
see, I see.
to. All right. Okay.
All right. Welcome Al Venan, welcome Dumb Jungler to the cast. First of all, again, just to repeat, since Venan wasn't here, congratulations on the win against Jimmy and friends. So first question, how did your team keep confidence and keep mental level heads when during the course of this really long and dragged out 4 game series?
Peter, you want to answer that or do you want me?
Yeah. So to be fair, I got a little tired after that game 3, but we wanted to end the clip, so I picked the team did, and we ended the clip.
Stop cringe. Okay, basically, TLDR, Peter was Giga mental boomed after game 3, but it's okay. He has 4 parents, consulting him, be like, it's okay, we
Okay.
got this. And I gotta give props to Jimmy and fans. Their oh my god, their Yone was disgusting. Their High was disgusting.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, we adapted our game plan based on their play style.
Definitely shout out to Noman, great jungler, and he
Oh
can always
man.
tell. He can always like one thing that he does really well is that he can always tell his team where I'm at, especially when I'm going or call. Like when I'm wrong. But yeah, overall, I think our team was like they put up a really good fight. I think the games were like really close, like most of them.
We ran it down a few times. Yeah. Yeah, excited to see the lower bracket gauntlet though.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, to continue with some of the games here, you guys showed a lot of diversity in a lot of these picks. What do you think is the key to being able to develop so much flexibility and so many different play styles, whether it's playing for top lane, playing for bot lane, playing for jungle, all this type of stuff?
Personally, I can say for jungle, I have uh, I think it mainly has to do with my solo laner. So I do like to play. I do like to plan a lot of things in jungle for the game, and Keldrick and Raj, and as well as our bot lane. But bot lane is like I guess more volatile due to matchups. Always able to have a champ pool that can support giving me prio and letting me do what I want. Um, yeah, especially game 1, for example, running the Murkaiser twice in the jungle, that's straightforward. That killed the game, I think. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess my answer is that I personally went out of my way to gather this like team together. I know everyone here has a lot of competitive experience, but like as all things are, like before we started winning, we lose a lot, but you pick up a lot of like things along the way, right? And Peter, stop coping. Basically, we have potential for 3, like any lane can win, and then he was basically the draft architect and to put like the stuff together. So yeah, jungle's actually very easy for him.
Okay.
And finally, if you guys have anything to say, any banter to throw out, any people you want to mention, now is your time. Go for it.
Oh,
Shout out to all my friends watching this, my high school friends, my SPU friends. They're the best. Also, I love my team.
yeah. I think from the lower bracket, I think yeah, the only team we haven't played against from the lower bracket that's still in the tournament right now is W Win Esports Black. I think it would be more interesting if we play against a different team throughout this tournament. So, but we'll be watching the lower bracket games as well.
All right then. Thank you for coming onto the stream.
All right,
And
thank you.
that will be it
Thank you.
for all of us too here at uh Rockers for this tournament for tonight.
Yeah, really
Stay
thanks.
tuned. Oh,
Really thanks Justin and Lily for casting the series. I know the series was extremely long, but we really thank you guys for bringing this because, as Alvin said,
Yeah, of
all friends want to
course.
see the game.
Good luck to you guys.
and thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
That's a wrap. Good night.